Hello, my name is Sam Hutchison, and welcome to episode 2 of Taylor's Tales. This is going to be a very interesting episode. Before we get into it, this is just a quick reminder, please check out the ZacharyTaylorProject.com. We're trying to bring history to life, and by viewing that website, you get to understand how we're trying to do that. But besides that, let's get into the video. Before we get into the battle, it's very important to know why we're fighting Mexico. To understand why, by this point in American history, we're expanding rapidly. A new term is created in 1845 by a New York journalist called Manifest Destiny. The idea to expand the United States from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Meanwhile, in Mexico, a decade prior, before the creation of the new term Manifest Destiny, they were dealing with many rebellions in their northern territories, especially Texas. Texas wins the rebellion in 1836 by the man that led them, Sam Houston. Sam Houston and the rest of his soldiers create a new country and a new republic to hopefully be annexed by the United States. However, Taylor's preferred Polk do not do so for two reasons: that it might unbalance the amount of slave and free states in the country already, and the future hostilities it may cause with Mexico. However, James K. Polk, the 11th president, the president before Taylor, annexed Texas in 1845. He also sends soldiers to Corpus Christi, the border of Texas. Now here's where we get into the problem with that. After the Texans won the rebellion, they proclaimed that their borders were all the way at the Rio Grande River. However, the Mexicans truly believed that there was at the Nueces River. So to not cause a conflict, James K. Polk made sure that Zachary Taylor, who would be leading this army, would go to Corpus Christi near the Nueces River. Zachary Taylor is already known. He's already been a soldier that has fought in the War of 1812, Black Hawk's War, and the Second Seminole War in Florida. He has already gained the respect by his men when he gets through Corpus Christi. He's not a fan of the wardrobe that many formal officers already wear. He actually is a fan of straw hats, which is why so many soldiers actually call him a frontier farmer than an actual general. However, this is not going to be important right now, because he is drilling his soldiers right now to make sure they're prepared for any Mexican attack. Now, Zachary Taylor is constantly drilling soldiers to prepare for any Mexican attack. Now we actually get to talk about the father of modern artillery, Samuel Reingold, who created the new technique of flying horse artillery. This new technique allowed soldiers to quickly unlimber their cannons, fire, relimber, and then swiftly move across the battlefield. This is going to be very important for the future battles to come, so keep this in mind. But this doesn't matter right now. Polk has just ordered Taylor to move across the Nueces River into the disputed territory towards the Rio Grande. This is very important for the Mexicans because they view this as an invasion. This is the first time the United States is going to be invading a foreign country, and Zachary Taylor is the one leading the charge. Now, they're going to arrive to the small town across the Rio Grande called Matamoros. There, Zachary Taylor and his men see the Mexican army starting to form. Soldiers are starting to gather at the town and prepare for an American attack. Taylor sees this, and he quickly orders the construction of a fort called Fort Texas. On April 25th, 1846, Mexican General Mariano Batista arrives at Matamoros with fresh new Mexican soldiers. On that same day, he orders a Mexican raiding party to be sent over the Rio Grande to ambush a U.S. scouting party. The casualties for the United States are 14 killed, 7 wounded, and many are missing. Now General Zachary Taylor truly believes that the U.S. is now at war with Mexico. He knows that he's in a very dangerous position. His supply lines are stretched really thin from a point called Point Isabel where the supplies are being dropped. So in order to make sure he does not get cut off from his supplies and fully surrounded by the enemy, he leaves 500 American soldiers to defend Fort Texas that overlooks Matamoros. The rest of his army is taken back up to Point Isabel so he can secure his supply lines. However, by the time he arrives on May 3rd, 1846, they could hear the gunshots of cannons all the way from Matamoros besieging the small fort of Fort Texas. The 500 men are now trapped as they are constantly being shot at by cannons. Zachary Taylor finds out about the siege and he prepares to move down south. Mariano Batista knows that he's about to move down south, so he ends the siege on May 6, 1846. He starts moving his men so he does not have to face a siege and a battle at the same time. And so on May 8, 1846, the Mexican army spreads across a low coastal prairie. Palo Alto is what it's going to be called. And soon Zachary Taylor sees the large Mexican line in front of him. Now, we do not know how many soldiers that were present for the Mexicans. Numbers can include from 3,200, 3,700, and even 6,000. But this does not deter Taylor as he prepares for battle. Taylor halted his columns and formed a line behind his cannon batteries, as we can see here, the first phase of the battle. Now, the Mexican artillery started firing around 2 p.m. The Americans responded by firing their own artillery. The American artillery was way more effective, thanks to Rheingold and also Taylor's decision to use 18-pound siege artillery. Meanwhile, the Mexicans were having a tough time, as their artillery often fell short, or sometimes did not hit their target at all. Artista decided to do a cavalry charge under Torreon's cavalry, which is right here. He would try to outflank the American force, however Twiggs' 5th Infantry Regiment was able to form square before they could do so, and was able to fire off a couple of volleys, forcing the cavalry to retreat back. Soon, a fire would happen between both forces of the armies. This would blind both armies for about an hour. Artista decided to pull back 1,000 yards, and Taylor advanced accordingly. He decided to do another cavalry charge under Torreon's cavalry. However, this time, Child's artillery battalion was able to form square as well and repel that cavalry charge as well. By the time the smoke had died down, May's regiment right here had failed to turn the Mexican left. Torreon decided to do another cavalry charge at Child's artillery battery. They formed square and was able to repel another charge. Also, on the American left, located right here, Duncan's artillery and Kerr's dragoon was able to take the right from the Mexicans to not outflank them. The final decision of Artista to hopefully break the American line was to fully charge the American line. However, this did not end so well. His regiments gloriously charged towards the artillery and died. They could not break the American line and retreated. Torreon's cavalry was fully routed, and the 6th Infantry went along with them. The battle ended at dusk. Many men lay dead, and Artista decided at the end of the night to fully retreat from the field and march back down south towards the Rio Grande. Taylor had 9 dead, 47 wounded, and 2 missing, for a total of 58 casualties. Meanwhile, Artista had 102 killed, 129 wounded, and many missing. It was a total of about 257 casualties in total. As Artista moved back down south for a more defensible position, Taylor prepared his army to move down south as well to meet them on the field again. May 9th, 1846 will be the site of another battle, the Battle of Saco de la Palma, which we will be covering next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Battle of Palo Alto, as this is a very important battle to begin with. We chose to do this battle at the very beginning because this battle is what really makes Taylor his famous role as this hero, and what's really going to help him to win this presidency after he wins many other battles in the future against the Mexican army. Again, my name is Sam Hutchison. Please remember to like and subscribe, and watch some of our other content by Cameron Coyle about his fireside videos about our American presidents. This has been Sam Hutchison. I hope you enjoyed.